Okay. Just give it a couple of minutes for everything to load for everybody. Okay, brilliant. Hi, everybody. This is Rachel Doherty. I am the Head of Global Marketing here at TLC Worldwide. I am joined by Mike Brin, who is our Global Loyalty Director. Mike, do you want to introduce yourself and just let everybody know what it is you do at TLC?
Good morning, and thanks for that, Rachel. Yeah, my title is Global Loyalty Director. So, as we'll tell you a little bit more about TLC, we cover about 14 markets in the world where we have offices in. And my role is to help develop our loyalty proposition. We sit on some amazing reward content. And how do we bring that into our loyalty programs that we support and run for our customers is really my role. And developing a loyalty proposition from scratch if that's required as well. So a pleasure to spend some time with you all today.
Amazing. Thanks so much, Mike. So just to give everybody a very quick overview on what we are going to take you through today. So these are the 5 elements of how you can bring ROI into your existing or newly built loyalty programs. So we're going to cover the engagement element of loyalty from the moment that your members or customers sign up. We're going to talk about knowing who to reward and know how much to invest in those rewards as well. And that it doesn't have to be about transactional behaviour. It can, so we're starting to move away from the point system. And then one of the big ones that us here at TLC talk about a lot when it comes to loyalty is building that emotion, which ultimately builds your customer lifetime value, or CLV as we'll refer to it. And then finally about how to make it easy for your customers to get rewarded. But before Mike takes us through all of these, I just wanted to give, for anybody who's new to TLC or hasn't been on any of our webinars previously, about who we are. So TLC is a rewards-based platform, and fundamentally our unique business model enables you to offer lifestyle experiences for a fraction of the cost, which ultimately means that you can reward every single one of your customers should you wish. And the way that we can offer these experiences at a fraction of the cost is due to our partnerships with brands and venues that are part of our 7 networks. So any reward or experience that we offer ultimately fits into one of these networks. So we've got activities, think of days out with the kids, sports sessions. You might have recently seen our sports sessions with our client Aldi. We've got our international travel network, think hotels, flights, camping, anything that means that you're taking the break. Entertainment network, movie streaming, music streaming, gaming partners or live events. Our dining network, so food delivery partners such as Uber Eats or HelloFresh for meal kits at home, or if you just want to go out for a meal. Our wellness network, think pamper, fitness, anything that means that you get to relax. Our learning network, so building or upskilling in certain educational skills, and then finally services, so getting your pets groomed or getting something fixed in your car or laundry services, etc. And then of course we always have a bespoke element. So we've got these rewards and these experiences that we can plug into your loyalty programs, your upcoming campaigns, and we're a global global business, so we've got 14 offices around the world, and so we can take all of this global information and data that we store from our campaigns and what customers fundamentally want, and we deliver this in over 50 countries where our campaigns run. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of an overview of what TLC Worldwide is. And before we jump into those 5 elements that we talked about at the beginning, one of our views, which I'm sure lots of people have heard of before, is loyalty is not a strategy. So Mike, do you want to deep dive into what we mean by that?
Yeah, and I think this is a topic that everyone agrees to now, and it's in simple terms, it's saying you can't expect people to be loyal to you. You need them to engage, have a positive interaction, experience with your brand, and that builds loyalty. So it's really about how we build and create programs that create a full experience rather than just that discount off spend or off continued spend. And again, when you look at how you make a loyalty program work well, it needs a lot of things. It needs technology, it needs a strategy around how you communicate, it needs great creative, it needs rewards. But ultimately, when it gets to a customer's relationship with that program, you need to show the customers that you understand them. So you communicate in a personal way. You make them feel special. You don't just say you're going to do something on your birthday, you actually do something on your birthday. Show you care about them in the way you make offers, and maybe look at their lifestyle, how you can help that, not just what they spend with you. Community is very much about the audience, and then cares about the world, definitely post-COVID, and definitely with younger generations, to show that level of sustainability and care in your program. It is really important to them. So I think programs to be successful today need to create that emotional connection, and that's really what we mean by it's not just a strategy but emotional response.
Brilliant, thanks so much, Mike. So as we go into the 5 elements or 5 lessons on driving ROI through your loyalty programs, I guess it's probably a bit of a pretext to say that this isn't an opinion piece for Mike or myself. We have taken these elements purely from the work that we've done with some of the clients that you can see on screen. So this is about us working with these clients, building or engaging with their existing loyalty programs and taking the learnings from it. So we have got the first element, which, as I said, was around building engagement from the moments members sign up. So Mike, over to you.
Yeah, as mentioned by Rachel there, we wanted to show you 5 lessons we learned. Ultimately, every time you try and develop a loyalty ROI, you end up with an Excel spreadsheet, and that takes the numbers that you need to drive an ROI. But really, to make that ROI work and make sure it happens, there's a couple of elements, and these are the lessons we want to talk about. And the first one is, ultimately your customers are most engaged when they sign up. And it's important that when you have them signed up, you start engaging immediately. Too many programs fall off that cliff of, we're looking at numbers of signups, then in 6 months' time, when they've done enough activity, we re-engage them and try and connect with them again. And you have this phrase known in the industry as leaky bucket. So you have people joining but never engaging. So it's important that you have something that's immediate, you can start talking to them about, and you can start engaging with them immediately. So you get that ROI your program deserves, because ultimately, as you can see, old movie I used to love, Field of Dreams, and it was the premise was, if you build it, they will come. Well, if you build loyalty programs, they will come. You can see that's US research. 15 people enrolled in programs, but actively using less than half of that. So I think it's about making sure people just don't sign up logically and say, there must be a discount in this for me. I'm signing up. I didn't get that immediate impact. I'm going off again. So I really think that's what we want to talk about in this first lesson is, if you have a target, you want to get X amount of people to sign up, they start signing up, make sure you engage, or you won't drive that ROI that you thought you had when you did your Excel spreadsheet in the beginning.
There's a element of this in terms of building stickiness, Mike, in terms of it's kind of the Achilles heel for loyalty programs, right?
Yeah, very much so, because I think there's general statistics out there that says, 25% of people are one and done, they enroll only, and that's That's okay. Just good to know that. If you think I'm going to have 1 million people in my program, be realistic and know that 250,000 of them will not do anything else, because they logically say, let's join, there must be something in it for me. But then when you get them in there, really you have two levers, which is your content and rewards. And your content builds emotion and loyalty. It gets them engaged. There's a reason for being part of the program. It fits in with my brand message. And the rewards, when you provide them, drive the transaction and spend. So we really want to make sure that from the beginning, you are starting to talk to them in the right way. This becomes a pillar for your brand. There's a reason for joining. It's going to make my life a bit better, and there's rewards in it for me as well.
It's really interesting, actually. And when we were first going through this, Mike, actually seeing the 30% of single transaction members, even within a loyalty program, like for me, I saw that and I thought it was quite high.
Yeah, it's scaringly high, isn't it? Because and one of the things is that we'll come on to it in a second, but it's worth saying it at this stage. People start looking at the program and say, oh, it's going to take me too long to get there, or it's all about a transaction that I need to make, the next transaction and the next transaction. But if you are doing it that way, you're not really meeting, and this is research shown by Forbes and Forrester. You know, this Forrester one's a really interesting point. Strategies that are really purely based on loyalty programs that offer points and discount miss an opportunity to drive deeper engagement through emotional loyalty, which we'll talk about. And discounts are now less effective, as Forbes say, than rewards that have an emotion component. So if you are building that, and the worst thing I see in loyalty is sometimes these programs are pretending to be loyalty programs, but they're actually discount programs. And customers see through that, and that's why 30% of them don't make a further transaction, because they see, I'll get another discount or a different discount the next time I come in.
And we wouldn't be doing our job properly, Mike, if we didn't just plug and play a little bit of some of our own work, just to bring this to life.
Yeah, it is our own work, but it's as you said at the beginning, it's working with our clients that shape this, and we learn from them as much as they learn from us. I think it's always a collaborative approach. And Club 64 we created for a brand called Nordic Spirit. What I love about this is Nordic Spirit, the brand, wanted to create a brand pillar. So they wanted something that reflected what they were about, and they were about a Nordic lifestyle. And actually the name itself came from, instead of saying Nordic Spirit Rewards, we called it Club 64, because 64 degrees north is where the Nordic lifestyle is when you look at the geography of it. And in that you have things, that program, you have things talking about how to be Nordic, things that Nordic people do, and you want to live that lifestyle. So I think that allows people to engage in the program, and that's the first part. So make it interesting, make it engaging, make it on brand, and you have something that people can get engaged with the content, whilst they're waiting to build up enough spend or transactions to get a reward.
Which sort of leads on really nicely to our second element of this, which is about knowing who to reward and knowing how much to invest. So, Mike, is this around sort of the potential revenue driver for brands or businesses?
Yeah, and again, back to, I see the Excel in my head that we normally do when we're doing an ROI, and you see some brands going, we expect our top customers to spend more. Well, sometimes that's not where the revenue is going to drive from. Most of the time it's going to come from the people who don't spend enough with you. So you need to build your program around that proposition of, how do I get those people who are less infrequent to visit and spend more? Because that gives us the biggest opportunity to grow our program. Yeah, I put this example because it's great when you do something like this, you start reflecting on things you've done in the past. And I think it's probably close to 20 years ago, I did a loyalty program for a coffee company. And at the time we had the same reward for everyone. And I think we've all been involved in those programs where you buy 7 coffees, get the 8 free, or buy 8 coffees, get the 9 free, whatever it might be. And that was the program we had created. And very quickly, you could see that the top 10-20% of people could not buy any more coffees. They just bought as much coffees as they possibly could because they were so loyal to the brand. So we were giving away a coffee that you didn't need to give away. And also, I read a piece of research, I think it was from Bond recently, which talked about, where are people located? And I think that's a next step in loyalty where we try and see, have you other options? So this was just a street example just on Google Maps of Sydney and where is there coffee shops? Because can you really drag people away from a coffee shop that's nearer to them? So be careful on creating a reward that rewards everyone the exact same, because the VIPs don't need that discount. They need recognition, but not discount. And the people who are lower down the chain of frequency need spend on rewards to get that increased frequency to bring them up to advocacy, etc.
Yeah, I mean, I am your ultimate loyalty customer. I think in my personal wallet at the moment, I've probably got sort of 10, 15 loyalty cards. There's definitely some that I do regularly use because I'm getting that reward back, or I feel engaged with that brand. But there are definitely some that I forget, even if I am in the store, that I've got that card. Because they're not being sort of bespoke enough for me as a consumer. And then there's an element, obviously, on whilst we're talking about coffee at the moment, is that brands, especially coffee brands, are having to adjust their subscription models so heavily and quite quickly as well. I mean, classic example is the Pret subscription at the moment. I'm sure that I was one of their first subscribers, and in the last 6 months that price has gone up. Now obviously they say that we're getting more for that, but sometimes the forever evolving challenge when it comes to these loyalty programs of getting that ROI, and you can see that they're having to move the shift a little bit. And I think that's where here we can see that some of these programs are becoming less rewarding for customers.
Yeah, particularly on the food side, there's a huge food inflation out there. And the customers who are loyal will react very vocally if something happens to the program, if it's not as generous as it was. So the point being is, I think if you are given the same rewards to everyone, you'll find out, or you'll feel that you're given too generously to the higher level and you start reducing your reward budget. That's not a great scenario. So our encouragement is, the lesson we learn from this is, make sure you understand what you want to achieve. You want to get frequency up of lower frequent customers, and invest your rewards in that, because that's what will give you the highest revenue return. And then for customers who are of higher value, treat them differently, give them more benefits, engage them in a different way. Because if you can see, sometimes as well, people spend a lot of time saying, we'll increase spend per visit, we'll upsell more categories. Very, very difficult to do. So focus on visit more frequently. So invest your budget wisely, on the people you need to increase more frequently. And that will not be your VIPs, it'll be your mid-range customers.
So we now move on to the third lesson, which is that it doesn't have to be about transactional behaviour. So, Mike, is this about moving slightly away from sort of points-based loyalty programs?
Yeah, and I just want to be clear, I'm not anti-points, so it may come across, when I was looking at these slides, I said it may come across that way. I think points work really well in high transactional businesses like supermarkets, like pharmacies, but you find people are then loyal to the points. They're chasing points. Happens in airlines as well. But we should be not asking customers to be loyal to points if we want to really turn them into loyal customers, advocates of the brand. It should be about finding help them in finding a value in their transaction with your brand and making the brand relevant to their life. That's a key message. We did Rachel and I did a webinar some time ago on emotional loyalty, which I really am passionate about. I just one slide referring back on this, and I think you can, Rachel, maybe tell the guys where you could find this. But I think emotional loyalty, if you want to do it, you have to understand a couple of things. You have to have an authentic story. Nike has, North Face has, Vans have. You have an authentic brand and story, lots of data. And then when you communicate, you do it in a creative way, and you tell a great story about your customers and their relationship with the brand. And then you create a community and inspiration. They don't need points when they're doing that. Sometimes they do because they want to measure engagement. but it's about developing a relationship, keeping it top of mind, amplifying your brand message. Bring all that stuff into your program, because that's going to help drive the frequency and the engagement that will ask people to shop in your shop rather than someone else's.
And I guess one of those elements, and going back to my purse full of loyalty cards, is with those with my points-based programs that I'm a part of, it takes quite a long time before I see any kickback, any reward, or even discount that I may get. It's quite a long way to go until I can receive anything from that brand.
Yeah, and without reading this research for everybody, it's seen all the time and we hear it all the time. And I think it's practical. Fashion retail has always struggled with this, because you might come 2-3 times a year. You might spend €50, £50, $50. If you're doing 1 cent for every dollar spent, it's all of a sudden it's only 50p, 50 cent. It's not great return. So particularly millennials and all generations really look at that and say, oh, I didn't get much back from that. You're giving me 10% off, I sign up, and then you're giving me, it's taken me a long time to get €1 or £1 back. So I think what you have is people are disengaging with those programs. Now, what you can do, and we can help brands do, is provide better value exchange, which is loyalty is all about a value exchange in the way of a different reward type that's not cash, that doesn't cost the investment the same, and it allows you to be more generous and it allows you to reward more frequently. That's a scary stat at the end from Capgemini, which says 77% of programs based only on transaction behavior. That's earning points only failed within 2 years of launch. Not sure what, I've looked for more insight into that, but it feels right, but I'm not sure what they mean by failure. It could be just you didn't meet your KPIs, or people started, falling out of the program. But I think it's down to that. If that is in a non-fast, regularly visited retail sector, I can see that being a challenge.
But there are obviously brands out there that do it well, and this is one of ours again as well.
Yeah, I love Electric Ireland, obviously. If you haven't picked up by the accent, I'm Irish. And this was recently shortlisted for the Loyalty Awards, International Loyalty Awards in the UK. And why I'm so proud of this is I think we all, were challenged by our relationship with our utility companies last year, from a number of things. I don't think we need to bring that to the table, but the cost was exceptional. Governments had to step in to help you with your bill. But yet with Electric Ireland, who is the #1 provider in Ireland, we were still able to improve their customer relationship scores. And the reason being is we give them a little bit back. We give things like great days out. We allowed people to experience Ireland in a different way, and we supported green partners, and all that type of thing spoke to the customer who wanted to feel they were getting something of benefit. It was a softer type of feel rather than saying here's a discount, and you saw people joining in. And also it's nice to just give people a little treat. It was tough times, and to be able to bring your kids to a park was a nice thing to do. So I think loyalty programs, thinking about the customer in a different way and their lifestyle and how they could help their lifestyle, and then of course it has to make sense. It links to the brand story, which is in this case rewarding Ireland. Then I think it's a different way to approach it and can be very engaging, and that's why I got shortlisted for the category of redefining loyalty, which was a great honor to do that with our client.
So we've talked, Mike briefly talked about sort of emotional loyalty, and he did say obviously that we did a webinar on this a little while back. So if anybody does want to deep dive into that a little bit more, you can find that on the TLC Worldwide website, and I can share that with anybody that reaches out and asks. But building on top of emotional loyalty is about how that fundamentally builds customer lifetime value.
And isn't it true though, it's Steph and Rachel were joking about this. I didn't think I was going to say it, but I am now. Loyalty programs are a little bit like, you're starting a relationship with somebody. You're they're asking you out on a date, they're asking you to join the program, and then you need to build that relationship with them of trust. So did they pay for the meal, or did they get you to pay for it, or how are you getting on with them? Are you having a bit of fun in your conversations? Are you enjoying time with them? I think that's what loyalty programs need to do. They need to think about that relationship and not all end up in divorce where people just stop being part of the program. So I think to build that again, we just need to realize that if we keep giving discounts, that just builds engagement, and people come back for the discount. But we want to get to a different level, and we want to get them to advocacy, where they're willing to say, I like this brand. I think you should, I recommend this brand to my friend. So like I say, this new boyfriend, girlfriend of mine, you're talking highly about them. You want that to happen. And the only way you do that is to create some kind of emotion, and that's linked to what's important to them, not just what's important to you.
I think this slide is a really poignant one in terms of actually discounting. You do engage with your customers, but discounting fundamentally does not build loyalty. And then you need the emotion with it for those customers, and then you get the advocacy as well. So I think this is a really, really strong point. And again, we've got a small takeout with our clients, Coral.
Yeah, Carl, it's if you're in the UK, Ascot's on this week, one of the great horse racing events. Carl is a bookie, as I would refer to him as. But what they did was their tagline, or their message is, as a brand, they want to get their customers closer to the action. So if you're a Carl customer, they want you to get close to the action. Now, the closest you get, besides getting on the back of a horse, is to actually own the horse. So Carl saw this, and this is what the research told them. And what they did was they bought 5 horses, and you could find out how those horses are training. You could find out information about how they're performing. You can get lots of content, which is what people who are into horse racing want to hear. But more importantly, that when the horse is running, they pick 10 of the members of the program to be the owner for the day, because that's what, through the research, that these people wanted more, was to be the owner of a horse. So you come to the racetrack, you go into the enclosure, and ultimately you may be in the winner enclosure if the horse wins, and you get to share the prize money. And I think ultimately why this was shortlisted for a loyalty award, I think why I'm wanted to bring this to life to people was, it just shows what you can do if you really think about your customers and what's important to them, and stay true to your brand. And I think it's a fantastic program. If you ever get a chance to have a look at some of the videos that are online for it, you'll really see the impact it has. And I don't want to share the NPS numbers, but they're so impressive of how this program has worked.
Which also again leads on beautifully to our final element, which is actually about making it easy for your customer to get rewarded. I mean, I know we talked previously, Mike, about surprise and delight elements, and about how the mechanic of people redeeming these rewards, or even just generally signing up in the first place, is such an important part of any program.
Yeah, and that simple message of a successful redemption is the single most important activity in creating emotion connection to a brand is very true. When you're building, again, back to this thing about building your ROI, you need to not be thinking about breakage. You need to be thinking about, this is something that I owe my customers. If they've willing to come on this journey with me, give me their data, share with me their passion about what they're interested in because you've asked them that. Then you should give them something back. But until they redeem something, you don't get that engagement, I believe. And there's some simple rule of thumbs that we have as a business that we wanted to share with you. So, rewards need to be attainable, aspirational, relevant, consistent with the brand, high perceived value. They can be blended in different ways, but they're the things that stand out. And important is that 90-day mark. For me, if you haven't got a reward within 90 days, you haven't really created that positive experience. So you had these customers joining, they've been excited, they've been wanting to be part of your journey in this program, they've signed up, But then after 90 days they haven't received anything, their motivation to keep going is going to be challenging. And you can see, again, some research, so it's not just coming from us. 70% of customers abandon programs because it takes more than 6 months to accumulate rewards. And Surprising Delights have an amazing job of impacting people. So if you're building your program to create an ROI, and in that program you say it'll take 6 months or 90 days before an average customer gets a reward, please rethink it, because you're not going to get them engaged. And these are all ideas that should filter back into your ROI calculations, because that's what we're trying to help our customers with today.
It goes back to all of those loyalty cards in my purse that I've forgotten that I even have.
Exactly.
Because it's probably been more than 6 months before I've even had a piece of communication or been rewarded for my loyalty.
Yeah.
And final takeout was with our client Tommy Hilfiger, which this program actually ran in the US. Mike?
Yeah, we do a lot with Tommy in the US, and it's a little bit different here, but I just wanted to show it because in your, again, building through your loyalty program, you should have different elements of engagement, Surprising Delights, or just activations that help people in the loyalty program to get extra benefits. And if you're a member of the Hilfiger Club in the US, and during this time, which was February to March, and you spent $200 or more, you got $200 of free travel credit, which is perfect to the time of spring break for that kind of market and linking into the brand. So again, have different types of activities and promotions. Don't rely on the transaction-based points for reward. Again, fantastic numbers when you see how this can impact upselling in this case. So that's a really good example of helping you upsell and get people re-engaged in the brand.
It's also about the type of reward as well. So I mean, it's so topical at the moment. Obviously, travel is one of the biggest trends that we're seeing, and the reward that both clients want to offer their customers, but also the highest redeeming reward that customers are taking as well, if they've got options. So travel is this is a great case study for us in terms of showcasing how the right reward for the right customer base works perfectly. So there you have it. There's the 5 elements or lessons that we wanted to take you through. So just to recap, Mike talked about building that engagement with your customers. So understanding them, understanding who signed up, and then knowing how you're going to reward them, who you're going to reward with what, and how much to invest in your customers as well. And that it doesn't have to be a transactional behavior. So again, thinking about how your program can differ from a points-based system. And then with all of that in mind, with engagement, with the reward, thinking about the emotion behind it and how you want to build that customer lifetime value. And then finally, about how easy you should make it to get rewarded. So again, going back to what Mike was saying around the 3-month mark. So if it's been more than 3 to 6 months, you're starting to lose that engagement, and you're starting to lose that emotional connection that you've built with that customer. So make sure that it's easily accessible. Surprise and Delight is a perfect example of that. So there are 5 lessons on how to drive ROI into your loyalty programs. So a huge thanks from us for joining us today, everyone. If you do want to hear more from either Mike or myself, or just want to learn more about TLC or some of the programs that we have built or run with existing clients worldwide, not necessarily just the UK, then do please get in touch, and we will do a follow-up with everyone that's attended today. But thanks, Mike, for your insight as always, and if anyone does have any questions, then please do reach out.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Mike. Bye.